America's Oil Championship Off-Road Racing Series.
No, man, you planned it, dude. We're gonna be out there having a good time.
The battle is the best. You know, it's a big adventure. It's as close to going to the Wild Wild West as we can in this century.
You're watching Championship Off-Road Racing. We're at beautiful Crandon International Raceway where the speeds are high. It's billed as the most exciting turn in motorsports, and it's turn one. Hello, I'm Ken Stout. Ricky Johnson standing alongside. You'll be watching rounds 3 and 4 of the Pro 4 division. This is the big boys. They come out to play hardball. It's 800 horsepower with all 4 wheels digging hard for a win. We kick things off in Chula Vista, California, and Johnny Greaves was a missile, but in both events, he laid up short and did not finish the race, consequently is not leading in the points. Who did win? Well, none other than the 2003 champ in Pro 4, Corr. Ricky, it's not the first time he's gotten off to a great start. He's actually started previous seasons with as many as 3 consecutive wins.
But the man on the move was Johnny Greaves. Had a very, very fast truck at the beginning, and Troy Herbst and Rick Huseman going back and forth. But it was Johnny Greaves. They had the speed, but a DNF with a blown motor.
Corr went on to win round number 1 and proved he's well on his way again for another championship.
Adrian Cheney off to a hole shot, but it was Johnny Greaves making short work of him and getting by, but it was Rick Huseman who started working hard on Cheney.
After this incident, both of them would continue to race in round number 2, but Johnny Greaves would end up with a flat tire. That ended his chance for a win, and Troy Herbst with another strong showing. At the end of round 2, though, it was Corr who brought home his 2nd win.
Troy Herbst, new out from Nevada, came out, put it on the podium twice, 2 second places. Also, Josh Baldwin continuing his ways, working his way back into that winner's circle. So the top 3, very, very strong.
While Troy is new to Corr, he's certainly not new to off-road racing, a great desert racer, but this place is very, very intimidating. Now, with more on the class and the course we'll be competing on here today, let's go to the 3rd member of our team, Kelly Stavist.
Thanks, guys. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding this class in Chula Vista when nearly the entire field was black flagged after Scott Douglas wrecked and drivers failed to obey those yellow caution flags. Here at Crandon, they run a very tight ship. You can expect to see a good, clean, fast race out of these drivers, and the crew members will certainly keep them in check. Hey, this is a place where veterans like Johnny Greaves and Kurt LeDuc love to shine, so expect to see them on the podium.
I love that attitude of hers, thinking there's going to be a nice, clean race. It just never happens in this category.
But this is Crandon, and this is Championship Off-Road Racing. The first turn, the most intimidating in motorsports. 4,000-pound trucks side by side. Now take you into the gravel pit, the one with an invisible apex. You can't find it. You can hit it early, you can hit it late. The long rancho jump. Now you go through the S's into the Argonne corner. Now you're going down into blind rises, wide open. This is the wildest track in off-road.
It is all about big speed and big horsepower. They will use it all. Here's a look at the Nissan points coming into round number 3. As you can see, Corr and then the rookie for this series, Troy Herbst, who has 2 second-place finishes, is doing awesome. Stick with us. We'll have more in a moment. Corr is brought to you by Kumho Tires. At Kumho, we're driven beyond the expected.
Troy, let's first talk about opening weekend. You came out and practically dominated in a tough sport with a lot of veterans, and I know you're a very accomplished racer yourself, but did you really expect to come out and have the success you did?
No, we were really surprised. We knew we had a good truck, and Corr is completely different than off-road. These guys in the Corr series are some of the best drivers in the world. Scotty Douglas and Josh and Carl, those are the only guys that are able to get around to watch their style out here, and they are absolutely amazing in the way they're flying these trucks around the turns. We just wanted to be competitive, and we had a good day, and so we were all pretty stoked about that and had a great start. And the people of Crandon, everybody around here has been outstanding. We've had a lot of fun in the pits here, and they've been helping us out, and it really is a family atmosphere back here. And it's a lot of fun. It's my first time here, and we're having a blast so far. You know, out in the desert, you trust your car and make sure it's there for you for the 1,000 miles. Here, you got to make sure you trust it for the first turn, and it's just seat time. And being my wife's birthday, she said, "What do you want to do?" She's like, "Let's go." So we're take it into this weekend, and hopefully we just have a good showing today.
Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Johnny, let's talk about opening weekend. It had to have been a little frustrating for you. You know, kind of tell me like what went on with your truck, and tell me what it's like when you can't, you know, finish a race, be in a race because of a flat tire, things like that.
You know, the weekend was frustrating, no doubt, but it was also real satisfying because we did run strong, and I think we laid down the gauntlet and let them know, you know, what they were going to be up against here, and it was just some weird deals. You know, we had an oil line collapse one day, and you know, pretty much got out in front and did our thing, and flat tire ran over some pieces. So yeah, we know the truck's fast. We got home from Chula Vista, we came here, we ran 20 laps, never had a glitch. We loaded up, went home, and prepped it. I call it a drifting track. You just drift from one corner to the next, and if that's all you can do, you just follow each other. Or we kind of set up our truck to get underneath guys. It does a lot of turns really good. It stays tighter than most trucks, and hopefully that, you know, it's worked in the past, but now we're running the big track again, and it is the biggest race running, and so it's like anything, you know, it'd be like winning Indy or Daytona or any of that. You win Crandon, you've done it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I think it kind of threw me off a little crooked and just all downhill from there.
Corr is brought to you by Nissan. Nissan, shift toughness. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil's Championship Off-Road Racing. We're here at Crandon International Raceway for rounds 3 and 4, the Pro 4 division. We heard from Johnny Greaves a little bit earlier. Ricky Johnson, that man has won here 10 times.
Kurt LeDuc also very, very strong, and also Josh Baldwin, but it's Johnny Greaves said he laid down the gauntlet. He wants to show these guys what they're going to be racing against all year long, and Johnny was very, very fast in practice.
Corr Rennesetter also very strong here, has posted 9 different wins in Pro 2 and Pro 4. The green flag about to wave here. You're looking at the Pro 4 division. It's showtime, baby. Everybody's got the butterflies. RPM's up, and here we go. Headed towards the most exciting turn in all of motorsports. 95 plus miles an hour. You mentioned it before, 4,000-pound trucks, and it looks like Johnny Greaves will get the whole shot.
Johnny Greaves, Kurt LeDuc, and Scott Douglas, these drivers coming in. You can see it's very, very wet these first couple laps. They do a lot of work here at Crandon to try to bring as much of the soft clay on top of it, but as you see, it gets blown off, especially with these Pro 4s. So the first 2 laps, very, very sketchy.
And that's exactly what the drivers see, by the way. They keep reaching up, pulling the tear-offs off. The first couple laps will be very much different than what they saw at Chula Vista, where there's literally no mud.
As we're watching it, the in-car camera of Corr Rennesetter, he comes in, he tries to lay that thing in there, and let's listen to his throttle. He just has to be smooth on the gas. Oh, Josh Baldwin goes around. Josh was very slow on the start. I don't know if something went wrong, but he seemed to delay when it came to dropping the green flag. He was left behind, and now we're watching again Corr Rennesetter chase down Scott Douglas.
Yeah, it looked like Scott Douglas might have had a problem as well. Looked like he checked up. Corr was really tracking him down, but now seems to be back up to speed. By the way, Kurt LeDuc in second position.
Coming down the end of this long straightaway, now they start all over again. They come back onto the start stretch, and that's that 90-mile-an-hour turn. Corr Rennesetter giving a little bit of a nudge there, but, you know, Rubbin's racing.
And you can hear Carl just blowing the tires off of that thing, trying to get hooked up. He's way off to the left there. The preferred line is where Scott Douglas was. And you can see Kurt LeDuc, the Skyjacker sponsored machine, through turn 1.
As you watch the guys come down and go through, you might think that the truck is pushing because they're getting understeer with the front wheels. But with the four-wheel drive, you can use the front wheels to change your direction. It's not just pushing the rear wheels. Here we see Troy Herbst getting really sideways. Coming in, I flipped on that corner, so I'm very sympathetic to that. But Troy came in, had it cocked sideways. The car rebounded a little bit quick, knocking him sideways. But Josh Baldwin getting by him.
The track right jump, they'll post the biggest air of any point on the track. And you can see right there, Kurt LeDuc trying to get that truck to turn in.
Yeah, now he goes from an understeer to an oversteer. Watch how the front wheels are working. Unlike sprint cars and stuff where you see them always cocked to the outside, they're not doing that. You pull the front of the truck as well as the back with these four-wheel drive vehicles.
Scott Douglas flying down through there and is able to maintain the position with Corr all over the back of him. But how about Kurt Leduc, man? Kurt Leduc showing some real promise here. He has one of the biggest motors inside the class, and based off the weight per cubic inches, he also has one of the heaviest trucks inside of the class.
Well, if you think about that, where is that going to be an advantage? On the opposite end of the spectrum is Rick Huseman working his way back from a spin. Let's listen to him go through the gears.
And you can see he had to check up there just a little bit.
Right, he came up behind Larry Knoll, had to check up a little bit, but you can hear that horsepower. Now we go back to Kurt Leduc. Where is that weight and horsepower going to help him? On the exit of a corner, because it's going to put weight. Oh!
And a huge flip in the background. See if we can figure out who that is. That is Al Drews. Al Drews with a violent crash.
Al Drews looks like he's up and moving around. We're back with Johnny Greaves out in front, just meticulously pulling it apart. He talked earlier how this is a drifting track and how they work to get that truck to turn on the inside. You see Johnny stays right on line. We're starting to dry off. Now we're looking back from Kurt Leduc, and all over the back of him is Scott Douglas.
That's a great battle for second place here. Kurt Leduc has been flawless so far. Johnny Greaves lives very close to here. He's been around this track a bunch. We heard him talk about it before. Came out, got 20 laps under his belt already. You can also see Scott Douglas taking a look underneath Kurt Leduc.
Looking back and forth, and I'll tell you one thing. Kurt Leduc can make a truck wider than anybody. Right there is where Drews went down. You notice they all obey the yellow. There's the truck upside down, and now they're back on the gas. You see Johnny probably about a second and a half faster than these guys per lap, and right now I think Kurt's holding them up just a little bit.
Boy, you could hear Johnny when he went by. That engine, courtesy of Toyota Race Development, it is awesome. Talk about something that sounds beautiful.
Now we're looking at Troy Herbst and Rick Huseman. If we go inside with him, you can hear how he has to fluctuate the throttle, and also he has the manual transmission. Listen to him downshift. Feather in the throttle. Gets roosted a little bit. Let's listen to that transmission.
Yeah, big. Oh, man!
Upside down.
He just was jumping it. Talk about stuffing one. It looks like he literally poked the nose of it right down to the ground. A huge wreck for Rick Huseman, who has crashed here a couple of different times in turn number one. This place has not been kind to him. In fact, he's lost a couple of championships here. Taking a look at that truck, that one is done for the day, maybe for the weekend. We'll have more action with Championship Off-Road Racing when we return.
I think it kind of threw me off a little crooked and just all downhill from there.
Championship Off-Road Racing is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. It works. Right before we left, this is what we saw, courtesy of Rick Huseman from an onboard camera, as he just stuffed the nose of that thing right in the ground.
Rick was going for a pass on Troy Herbst on the outside, opened it up, going through the gears, giving it all that he had. But that's one of the shorter travel lightweight trucks. It bucked on there, dropped the nose in, and end over end as we saw it. A very, very ugly crash.
And as you can see, Kurt Leduc back there in a battle with Carl Rennezetter. He's falling back a couple spots, but he is not going away easily.
Carl opened up the door. Now Kurt opened up the door. Now Carl down on the inside. They're coming up on the gravel pit corner, and this is what I said. It's an invisible apex. You can take it early or late.
Oh, and right there, a nice move by a Leduc. Got on the brake, did not hit Rennezetter. Douglas makes a mistake. All three of them come out of the Lucas Oil gravel pit. Two of them side by side, which is a very scary jump to do side by side.
Carl turns down on Kurt. Kurt makes a bump but pulls out of it and saves it, so I don't think there'll be a rough driving call because that was not intentional on Leduc's part.
Yeah, Kurt did pretty much everything within his power not to take him out. He certainly did not gain a position by it, and it looks like the truck is A-OK. Both of them, for that matter.
Right now, the truck has really come into its own. Right now is the time that if you're a driver, you love the track. You have a good cushion. The mud has been blown off, and you can really dice back and forth. The roost is heavy, but it's also you can get through it. We're seeing a little bit of rain on the screen. This could get ugly.
And really, the big loser in that whole transition was Scott Douglas. Douglas was the one that fell way back, and he had a nice position at second. But look at these two guys. Kurt Leduc driving an entirely different line, driving the turns much tighter. and then trying to pull out.
Kurt LeDuc with a better line coming off, but Corr with that smaller truck and that Pro Power motor getting by. But we had a chance to catch up with Rick Huseman, the driver that went end over end.
I think I was coming on the outside of Herbst, and I was kind of in his roost, and I couldn't see the jump real good, you know, and I just hit it. And it looks like, now that I look at it, the jump's kind of, it's got a spot that's not too even on it, and I hit that, and I think it kind of threw me off a little crooked, and just all downhill from there.
Tough break for Rick Huseman as we go back to this battle once again between Carl Renazetter, Kurt LeDuc, and the Skyjacker car. Man, Kurt has been driving one heck of a race as he has managed to stay in front of that Lucas Oil truck.
Kurt LeDuc, one of the hardest men to pass in off-road racing. You can ask any competitor. Why? Because he's got so much racing experience, Ken. This guy's been around so long. I think he raced Chariots back in the day against Ben-Hur. But all joking aside, with Kurt LeDuc, he knows how to race. He doesn't get rattled, and that truck is heavy, so you can beat on it, and it doesn't fly out of the way.
Typically a truck that hangs around, doesn't run all that well at the front, but at the end of the race is always there. But he's gotten off to a great start here, and these two have really been battling.
Carl Renazetter sneaking on the inside. Looks like the Duke went to square the corner to get a longer run and didn't think Carl was that close, but Carl made the pass.
You see Johnny Greaves, he is your race leader. He has checked out, got the whole shot, and there's second and third place, a full straightaway behind him. That is the better part of a quarter of a mile.
Carl now with a clean run. Kurt LeDuc looking on the inside, but he is not going to be able to get in on Carl. Now Carl's got about 3 truck lengths, and the track has really come into its own. The thing that I like is that these guys have not lost that much room to Johnny.
And here comes Kurt LeDuc again, right back up underneath Carl. Man, this has been a spectacular race for these two guys, and now elaborate. It looks like Troy Herbst there.
Well, I think you had Adrian Cheney there broken and rolling on the side, and I'm telling you, it's awesome when you see a racer use a lapper as a pick. What you do is you force the driver to get in behind it. No! Opens the door, and Kurt LeDuc one more time. It seems like every time one of these drivers trying to set up for the next straightaway, the other guy comes in and steals his line.
Kurt having a spectacular run here. Imagine, oh, and it looks like Carl's motor or something gave up. A lot of smoke out of that truck, and he goes right into the reverse as he's trying to get out of the way.
A lot of times here at Crandon, you're on the throttle so much that your temperatures will skyrocket, and transmissions will be the first things that blow because you can get them up in the 300 degrees, and sometimes they just can't handle it.
Is there any chance he went into reverse instead of the gear he was looking for?
There's a very good chance he could have came in if he has his first gate up next to reverse or right in front of neutral, because some trucks you shift from the back forward for taller gears and some for the forward back. If he shifted and missed his neutral gate, he could have popped it neutral and blown that tranny. We'll see.
Johnny Greaves coming around here. He is on his last lap. The yellow flag, the caution right here. There will be no more passing between this area and the checkered flag, so it looks like Johnny Greaves will earn his 45th championship off-road racing career win here at Crandon International Raceway, and the 11th time here at Crandon.
Everybody says in the pits, all the drivers and crew know that's the baddest man in Corr today, and he's showing why. He said that he came out and did 20 laps after Chula Vista and blowing that motor. That thing was running like a clock today.
Right behind him, you see Kurt LeDuc pulling in with a Skyjacker sponsored machine, and we'll talk to our winner when we come back.
I think it kind of threw me off a little crooked, and just all downhill from there.
Johnny Greaves got his first win of the 2006 season, but Art Kelly Stavitz is standing over the man who's been on the podium every single time this year.
3 races, 3 third places. Seems like you kind of just stick in there, run a clean race, let the rest of it sort itself out, and you wind up right back on the podium.
Yeah, you know, we've been getting thirds. It's getting to be a habit here. Off the start, the truck actually stalled. I had to get it refired and go, so we lost some serious time there. I kind of watched most of the class take off without me. We ran her hard. She held together pretty good. Thanks a lot to BF Goodrich for these awesome tires. They're a great tire, and most of all, I got to thank my family, my wife, and my crew. We've got a dream team out here. It's been tough without my brother, and we're pulling through, and he's here in spirit with me, so we're doing good.
How are the conditions out here for you?
You know, the track was epic. I mean, couldn't have been more perfect. It was great. Had a good time. The truck ran phenomenal. We just had that little hiccup on the start.
Kurt, you were in quite battles there. You had a little trouble on the straightaway, but you got right back in the hunt. Carl broke. How good does this finish feel?
Well, you know, the Skyjacker Ford, he runs fast on probation. So, you know, Carl and I had a battle. I think he broke here. I mean, I checked up big time, and the BFG tires were awesome. When it was raining, I was like, man, this is going to be a great racetrack. The new clay wasn't as bad as everybody was fearing, and a lot of carnage, a lot of correct cars, and, you know, we all checked up and kept our heads on straight. And just great to be here on the podium and here at Crandon.
Yeah, you have a lot of history here at Crandon, a lot of success. How good does it feel to be on the podium here at this track?
Well, I'm a proud dad because Kyle ran awesome. Todd led up, you know, got up front, and you know, I just couldn't let my boys down on my team. The guys did a great job. I'm excited. Skyjacker's here, and I'd like to get under that Skyjacker finish line first once this year.
All right, nice job.
Thanks.
Doing good. Yeah. Good that, Al.
All right, Johnny, you hit the hole shot, which is nothing new for this season, but how good does it feel to finally finish the race right here on top?
Oh man, that was the greatest. You know, when you start off a season like that, you start wondering, man, I hope my whole season doesn't go that way. But we got the start, and you know, there was a lot of yellow flags and a lot of confusion. So I was afraid to put in real hard laps because I didn't know if I was in the right place at the right time under those yellows. They were out everywhere, and you forgot where they were. But man, the Toyota Tundra pulled through. Forest County, Potawatomi, man, my people here, they're just doing it up for us, and it's great. You know, BF Goodrich, new sponsors, Monster Energy, everybody's on board, and we're kicking butt, man. It feels great to finally get one under the belt. You got these BF Goodrich tires behind you, man. They're just hooking up. Everything's happening right, and you know, we can't wait. Big weekend ahead of us.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thanks again.
Now for a look behind the scenes at the new Bat Cam.
Basically, we have one large motor at the base of our truss structure here. The rig is getting pulled on a clothesline type system, and we hit speeds of up to 100 miles an hour.
My main responsibility is doing all the camera functions, pan, tilt, zoom, focus, trying to show a lot of motion in the camera.
We'll be ripping in, and I have to make sure that I don't go too fast. The 1,400-foot run that we're running right now can be awful quick. It's about the only thing out there that can probably keep up with these trucks into this kind of action.
All the times you said goodbye in pain, one final kiss in pouring rain. Is this the last time we'll embrace? How many times can my heart break?
And that's some of the new technology that's helping take Corr to the next level, courtesy of Jim Baldwin, the new president. Here's some of the guys that struggled throughout this round. Number 3, Marty Coyne. Al Drews had a big-time wreck. And, of course, Rick Huseman. He will be our Skyjacker shock of the race.
As we walk you through this, you hear him feathering the gas through the middle of the corner. Getting peppered, grabs the next gears, and up and over he goes. Once, twice, sky, dirt,
and a lot of damage to be repaired. Like we just mentioned before, his brother Dan and crew chief not here this weekend. His wife is having a baby. He chose to spend time with her, wisely I would say, but he does have his other brother Jeff, who drives a pro light truck here with him. Those guys will have a lot of work to do to get this one fixed up and running for Sunday.
There's 2 bumps out there on the start, and he jumped off the first one and landed into the second one. I guess there was a ditch in the first one, and he got sideways and caught on the second one. The A-arms were real bent up and cracked, and we had to cut them up and replate them in, and the shocks shafts were bent and had to replace those. We're working until 3 o'clock in the morning to get it back running, but I think we're getting it together.
Championship Off-Road Racing is brought to you by Nissan. Nissan. Shift toughness. Hey, we're standing inside of the trailer of Johnny Greaves, of course, driving the Pro 4 Toyota-based machine. And these guys struggled with the transmission inside of their truck up through about mid-season in 2005. They finally figured out a problem in conjunction with the transmission builder that they were working with on how to fix it. At that point, they strung together what turned out to be a Corr record of 8 consecutive wins and, of course, ended up winning the championship in 2005. Well, as we always talk about, the weak link is still there, but it just this gets moved along inside of the drive line. And while they fix the transmission problems, they found the next weakest link. You're looking here at a manual transmission used inside of Johnny's truck. That mates to this, the transfer case. Out of the back of the transfer case, the drive shaft going to the rear, and then of course off the side here, the drive shaft going to the front. But there is a shaft that transfers all this power inside of this case, this T-case. And this was an older shaft that they were using. If you take a look at this shaft, there's actually some holes up here that are drilled for oiling purposes. Well, unfortunately, this shaft right here was breaking right where these holes are drilled. So they did away with those holes and actually made the splines taper up, run a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper. They're hoping that will solve the next problem inside of the drive line and get these guys back to the winner's circle. That is our Toyo Tires Inside Tracks. Take a look at the Pro 4 category for round number 4. On the pole right there, it looks like it's going to be Corr.
Now remember that they invert the top 8. That puts Corr all the way the farthest from you, which is that outside line, and that's the smoothest line into turn 1, and the green flag is dropped.
Closest to us was Scott Douglas, rolling to start just a little bit. Adrian Chinney beside him. It looks like it's going to be Douglas. Here comes Chinney down there underneath him, and they actually hit.
Adrian Chinney never afraid to get on the gas, and now Scott Douglas back in front. Johnny Greaves making a move, and now we have Josh Baldwin, who has had to work his way up in the top 4.
Josh Baldwin, who talked about getting a struggled start in round 3 here. Looks like he got a great start here in round number 4. Johnny Greaves got the whole shot at 3, but not here. It's going to go to Scott Douglas.
Now right now you're watching the drivers take a very protective line on the inside. Adrian Chinney coming in making a small mistake, and it's Scott Douglas who's running up off the track right jump. These guys fly off of this thing.
You see those guys, and taking a look again at Scott Douglas, who was in a tough crash in round 2. In fact, Johnny Greaves and Kurt Greaves helped him out by rebuilding that truck, the back of the truck. All the damage was fixed in time to get in a little bit of test time here at Crandon. It looks like it's paying off here.
Yeah, this is a family sport. When I flipped my truck back in '98, I had guys come out of the woodwork to try to help me get back on the track. Here we see Johnny Greaves taking a run at him on the Argon corner. Clips the apex a little bit close, but I have to mention, they have done a great job on this track. You notice it's not muddy. They've had the blades out there, so these drivers aren't getting sprayed so bad with the mud. Usually Johnny Greaves in second would be completely brown, but right now it's a great racetrack.
Adrian Chinney holding tough right there, as is Josh Baldwin. Right back there in 4th place, Josh Baldwin, the only driver in the category to this point who has finished on the podium every single round.
If you notice with these drivers, it's not like NASCAR where you want to suck it behind the guy and get in his draft. You want to stay off to the side. You notice Johnny's to the inside, to the outside. He's moving back and forth. Why? It's definitely not a wind drag situation. It's a situation with the roost. You want to keep as much dirt out of your truck as possible and always be able to look around the next driver.
Yeah, it's also not necessarily a cooling problem because all the radiators are in the back of the truck, but it is a visual problem as you try to see where you're going. And boy, talking about, we heard him say his truck is designed to stay tight. He seems to be able to keep it tighter than the other competitors, and he did it right there.
Yeah, but he opened the line, and now he's able to cut it in on Scott Douglas. Scott, quite a gentleman. I don't know if I do that. Oh, Scott comes back as soon as I say he's a gentleman. He runs it back into the door. Johnny Greaves and back into the lead.
And you know, I don't know that that means he's a bad guy either. He's just racing him for the position very hard. I think Johnny would expect that from anybody.
Well, I just said I probably would have hit him sooner because if someone's going to leave the door open, you're going to take it. But that's what we've seen in yesterday's round as well. The passing comes when a driver goes to take the optimum line, setting up just like that. Josh sets up for the straightaway. Corr sneaks down to the inside.
Corr with the Lucas Oil sponsored machine, trying to chase down Josh Baldwin. I just saw Adrian Chinney's car as well. A Case Gunderson built machine yank up that left front tire. Hold on, we're not done. This Corr presentation is being brought to you by Skyjacker, the bear of suspensions. You're looking at round number 4. This is the Pro 4 division. Corr with the Lucas Oil sponsored machine, trying to get around Josh Baldwin, who's been on the podium in every single race so far this season. He's done one heck of a job. Right in front of them is Adrian Chinney.
Well, now you got brother-in-laws there. Now these guys get to argue at Christmas over who beat who, so they run very, very hard. You notice Josh is running line. He puts it on the inside with 3 guys wide.
And look at Chinney's car. That's what we were talking about before. The left front tire on Adrian Chinney's truck, way up in the air. Looks like a sprint car coming out of turn number 4.
He has the thing laid over and on the horn. These guys going back and forth, and Corr was able to sneak under Josh Baldwin.
Talk about transferring some weight, looking for some side bite, but here comes Renazetter as he's trying to track down. That is Scott Douglas in second. These two guys going at it.
Carl Renazetter looking on the outside of Chinny as he throws it in. He's going to eat a lot of dirt right there, but he holds on to the spot. Now, in some situations, in a sprint car and two-wheel drive car, you want a truck or a car to roll over like that to make sure that that inside rear tire is getting traction. But with these, you want them a little bit more flat. Why? You don't want that inside front up in the air because it's not digging. So you can get away with more bar.
Adrian Chinny faring much better now than he was then in round number 2 at Chula Vista when Rick Huseman literally drove up over the hood of the truck. It was a pretty wild moment, no question, but no fault to Rick Huseman either. I mean, Chinny got a little sideways there.
Two guys arguing for one spot, and now the same situation. Chinny is under attack, and you see a lot of steam coming out of that truck. These guys will run wide open a lot with all that roost. They have a tendency to overheat. We can see the steam bouncing off the back of his cab, and that's right where his radiator is.
Look at the left front tire again. Oh, man. He almost flipped that thing over that time. It's squatting so hard in the right rear. I can't help but think that maybe something is actually broken. I'm sure Case Gunderson would not want that truck to work that way, but you're right. He's losing that left front tire, which should be pulling the front end of the truck out.
And right now, he's like a punching bag. He's been getting hit back and forth. And I think you're right, Ken. There's probably a situation where a bar is hung up or a shock is sticking because his truck's usually cornered very, very well. We see it darting left to the right. So I imagine we got something right there. Wheel floating the inside wheel again, so we could have a sway bar binding or a shock that could be bent.
As you mentioned before, so look at the smoke, look at the steam at the top of that truck. That is where all the radiators are, so it looks like he's going to have big-time engine problems here in a moment as well. That could cost him a lot of money.
Yeah, but you know what? He's not giving anything up. You know, Adrian Chinny's been through some big crashes, and they call him a wild man, but I'm telling you, he's not giving anything up to Carl Renazetter. He's still right on his back bumper.
They do have one more race this weekend. When this one is complete, there's a big cup race that will go on. These guys have already thrashed all night long from round 3 to get these trucks ready for round number 4. So his day is not done yet. I'm surprised he's pushing this thing unless he has just not seen the gauge, or maybe the gauge is not indicating any big heat yet.
Well, let me tell you, when I drove, what gauges? You know, I just get in. Let's see if he floats the wheel again this time. Comes in. A little bit of float, he rotated a little bit softer, didn't throw it in quite as hard. But there's so much going on. You're getting roosted, sprayed, banging gears, you're up in the air, you're all over the place. You don't have time to look at gauges, but the guy, the rookie, is out there running really strong, and Rick Huseman got that truck running, and he's chasing down Troy Herbst.
Rick Huseman and his brother worked all night long. They had no extra control arms for that truck. It's basically a one-off piece. They literally had to take the destroyed parts, straighten them, weld them, put gussets in them to try and get them to hang on. It's an amazing feat what those guys did all night long to get that thing back out here.
Well, you know, I really admire the Huseman family. All of them, all the brothers are fabricators, Rick including. You watch him, he's not just a driver. I mean, he's one heck of a show. We look at the inside, him chasing down Troy Herbst. He takes a look on the inside, not going to quite make the pass, but it's that whole family. They work really hard. They love to work with their hands. They're great fabricators, and that's why they're back out on the track. A typical guy, you put me in that crew, I'm just going to spectate and watch him fix it.
And by the way, we wish his brother and his wife the best of luck on their baby that is due this weekend, which is why he's not here. Looks like Rick might have had a small incident right there where he had to get out of the throttle, but yeah, you're exactly right. His brother Dan as well. I mean, just extremely sharp individual.